Welcome again, and I chose Teams because we have this Teaching Together Teams group that is in collaboration with the Online Learning Committee and the IDTRC and Center for Teaching and Faculty Development. So now you're aware of it, you're a member. If you've always been, that's awesome. Thank you. And I want to start by orienting us to the Teams platform. So again, welcome. We're going to talk about basically today. I always like to start with the bottom line up front. So if I lose you to lunch or something else going on, at least, if you tune in for these next 2 or 3 minutes, you'll kind of get a sense of what we're going to do today and sort of the key takeaways. So the first is to practice your technology first and always keep it simple. So if you've never used Teams before, or you had never used Collaborate, I think we can probably all reflect and look back at the beginning of the semester, or even thinking back to and how technology can keep us on our toes. And so many of the things that I show you today to help build team connectedness in your classes or with your colleagues always usually relies on having backup options or the keep it simple principle. Keep it simple, silly. We'll talk a little bit about communication too and connectedness with your classes, and I'll give you some ideas and things that I use or things I haven't used because I thought it just might not be applicable, but the pandemic has just changed so much of how I think of communicating and engaging with my class and my colleagues. I'll share with you the importance, I think, of being accessible to your students and how you can manage that, especially in the time that we're in. And I'll share some really cool new sources of technology that are really simple and straightforward that kind of tie together some of the aspects of designing online curriculum or delivering online curriculum to your students. And I think with anything, hopefully you're cutting yourself some slack, and keeping that same mentality with your students and your classes. And I'll probably mention this a couple of times, but I joke a lot that watching my daughter do virtual 4th grade by herself on a Chromebook has really taught me a lot of that student perspective that you don't always get to, participate in. And just watching her engage with her classmates and go into breakout rooms and just sit in the breakout room and not say anything because they're too shy to do so. So it's just given me some really interesting perspective that I look forward to sharing with you today. So first, to orient us all to Teams, you probably can only see my slides right now, and you've got the typical standard view. And so if you have a view right now that is on the screen like what you see on my slides, where your control panel is sort of in the bottom middle of your screen, you're in sort of the default Teams view mode. And you don't have to adjust this setting right now, but there's 2 versions of the Teams view, and I want to make sure that we don't feel lost if some of us are in one view and others are in another. So if you click on your picture, you'll get a menu with the settings button that I've highlighted in blue. And you can take a look at this while I'm presenting. And if you open up the settings menu and scroll down just a little bit under application, there's a button with a checkbox that says turn on new meeting experience. So I have the new meeting experience on right now. You might want to check and see if you have it on or not, because that can change just slightly how your screen looks. And when I'm giving instructions today, I'd hate for people to say, I don't know what you're talking about, Jay, this doesn't match up. And so the main reason will be based on whether or not you have the meeting experience turned on. If you have the new meeting experience turned on, right, then I'll show you the 2 differences in a moment. If it's off and you want to turn it on, probably now is not a good time to do that, because as you see, it says it requires you to restart the program. So please don't disconnect and reboot, okay? Just know if you have that box checked or not. So if you don't have the box checked, this is the default view. You have your control panel menu right here, okay? If you have the new meeting experience on, it's going to look slightly different. Now the controls are up at the top right. We've got the participant button, the chat button, the hand raise, mute your camera, mute your microphone. So hopefully now we're oriented to sort of what view you're in so that you're familiar with it. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm using a new poll app feature. I just posted a link to it in the chat. It's called Slido. If you click on that, it'll open a web browser for you. And a little later, we're going to use some polling fun options. So we're going to start with a poll right now. So if you click on that link in the chat, or if you pick up your phone and go to the website slido.com or Slido, however you want to say it, SLIDO.com, it's going to ask you for a number. I thought of the easiest number I could come up with, 8675309. Maybe you've heard of it. You're going to enter that number, and I'm just asking the group to share one positive thing. Share one positive thing that happened to you this week. And as people type it in, it's anonymous. We should see them pop up on the screen. And like I said, to be adaptable, if I was doing this in my class right now and no one's typing anything and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm asking for input and no one's giving me any, I might not share this slide at all right now. And as the people are typing in, as my students are typing in these things, maybe I come back to this question later in the chat and take like a short break, right? There are multiple different polling solutions. Poll Everywhere is another popular one. And again, think of your tech adaptations, right? So you're asking a question right now. Remember, if people aren't engaged, if it doesn't seem like it's working out, give it a few minutes. You can use your phone to view these answers at any point and report them back to the class. You don't have to show a slide. This is embedded in PowerPoint, so it's sort of, I guess, the highest tech end of kind of making this work. We're healthy, sunshine, love it. The president said that the BR is not going after faculty who use Zoom. Woohoo! Right. Thanks for sharing. So next up, I want to just play a video I made yesterday that kind of takes us through the features of Teams, just to make sure we're all on the same page before we do some other interactive breakout stuff. So here we go. The video. Remember, one of my bottom lines up front was to cut yourself some slack. So here we go.
So I just want to do a quick video of navigating through Teams. So I'm in the Center for Teaching Innovation channel. We are meeting in the Teaching Together general room. So, once you're in this general room with your class or however you're using Teams, there's the Meet Now button. I'm going to start a meeting. And since later we're going to do some breakout stuff, I just wanted to quickly run through the features. So show conversation. This is the chat room that records everything. So, we can discuss things here. It doesn't always show up between the participant view and the chat view. The raise hand feature is really cool because it actually glows. If there were more people in here with me right now, if someone raises their hand, their outline turns yellow. So you kind of get a nice, hey, wake up, professor. Someone's got their hand up. The other options, there's large gallery preview that shows more than 10 people. There's together mode that shows like an auditorium, which is really cool. So you can play around with that while you're listening to this video. There's live captions, which is just great. I'm waiting for them to start, or hoping that, there we go. So there's the live caption feature. You can record the session, turn your camera off, turn your camera on, mute yourself, and then the share button. So when you go into breakout rooms later, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because someone's going to have to take charge and share some of the tasks and fun things that we're going to do. So you can share your screen. If you need to play sound, if there's video, you want to make sure that include computer sound is on, and whatever you're going to share, it needs to be open before you click on the share button. So if you wanted to share a PowerPoint slide right now with your class and you didn't open the file yet, share content's not going to potentially show that file. However, you can browse your OneDrive. There's lots of things you can do that I want you to play around with, but likely today I'm simply going to ask someone in each breakout group to share their browser, and I'm going to direct you to some web links where we're going to do some fun activities. And now that I'm sharing this browser, I can just stop sharing by hitting that X rectangle button here.
So if you were really paying attention, you might have known I didn't identify the shape correctly. If you could type in the chat, what was the shape? Or you can say it. What's the stop sharing button shape? It's an X with a...
I thought it was just a square.
It's
Thank
a
you, sir.
Isn't it a document, or it's a screen with an arrow?
A screen, yeah, a square, a screen, I'm doing area and perimeter right now with my 4th grader. We're learning the difference between squares and rectangles. So the stop share button has the X with a square or screen in it. So next gets a little tricky. We are going to try and open up another channel. So we're going to go into our Teams view, and I'm going to play the video again in a second. And inside our team of teaching together, there's 3 breakout rooms, breakout room 1, 2, and 3. It's just another channel. And when we join another channel, our previous meeting room, so the meeting room we're in right now is general. If we were to join breakout room 1, 2, or 3, it's going to put the general room that we are all in right now on a holding pattern. So before we move or go anywhere, let me return to the video and show you what it looks like on your screen if you were to do it. So stay where you are, don't jump anywhere into any other channels, and let me just sort of show you what that view is going to look like.
So step 1, click on your name or picture, go down to settings, and scroll under application. Look for that checkbox next to turn on new meeting experience. If you have that checked, it's going to open up meeting windows with video and audio in a new window. When I join a meeting room, the meeting room is in a separate window. So I'm going to go to General. I'm going to join the meeting in General, and then what that's going to do is it's going to create 2 windows for me. So I have the General window, where I'm having sort of the whole class meet, and then I have Breakout Room 1, and I have Breakout Room 1 where I'm on hold. So all I have to do to get in the breakout room now, since I've joined it once, is hit resume, and now I've left the general room and I'm in breakout room 1. And if I added multiple channels, if I go back to the Teams list, which is what we have today, so I have under the Center for Teaching Innovation, I have the general room, breakout room 1, and breakout room 2. So if I wanted to switch between multiple rooms, I can do that by just joining multiple channel rooms. This is what it looks like if you do not have the new meeting experience checkbox clicked. We're in the general room now. That says meet in breakout room 1. So if you click the resume button, it will switch us over to Breakout 1. Now it says General in that tab. So if I go up to where it says General and click on the Resume, I switch back to the General chat room.
So we're going to give this a shot. Remember, we are in the general chat room right now. So we're going to just have everyone go into Breakout Room 1. So if you bring up your Teams window where you have the Teaching Together team, under Breakout Room 1, we're going to click on that channel, and then we're going to click the Meet button to meet there. And you're going to be placed on hold in this room when you switch. So go.
Jason.
I'm back. How's it going?
I don't see how to get into the because it doesn't even allow me to do the chat. It said it's only for members, available to team members.
Okay, I see. It's so some people join this meeting as a guest, so they can't change rooms.
Oh,
So that's okay. So you just
Sign
hang.
up.
You
That's
just
probably me too.
yeah. You just hang tight. So Kathy and Evelyn are it's this is
so too.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you hang tight. You can't move rooms because of the way that we have you in here. We'd have to make you there's a fix, but
Oh, okay.
there's a
I
fix.
wish
But yeah,
it was
no-
like Zoom. Once you just create
know,
the room
right?
and you go there.
if it was easy,
It will be Microsoft.
it'd be too easy. So so everybody that's still here in the general room, just hang tight. Let me go grab the people that went in the breakout room.
Thank you.
I'm trying to figure out how many of us are still in this room.
I think there's 3 of us, but it's because we were listed as guests on the login. So I had gone out of the Teams invite and then back in. And I think that's what happened.
All right. So, this is
Yeah, that there is an issue with people coming in as guests.
yeah.
We have that issue fairly frequently with faculty coming into a meeting as a guest, and they can't do anything basically.
Yeah. So, and this is a great just reminder learning moment. I think of my daughter when she does breakout rooms and she doesn't say anything. And I'm glad she can't hear me right now because she's very shy. So you imagine, this is the first time many of us may know each other, but if you're going to do it your first class, right, and throw students into breakout groups and, what's the likelihood that it's going to be successful? There needs to be a practice session on that first day, making sure people can do it. So, we just got a real life example. I think we had 6 people that were successful to join that other channel. And it's not that we couldn't do it, but, I don't want to use the rest of our brief time here together just troubleshooting us doing different breakout rooms, which is why I've got some other things for us. So just go back to sharing. So we're going to just try a quick, we've navigated Teams. So we're going to just play Simon Says. So here's something else that you can do with your class. So let me just stop sharing for a second. Okay, Simon Says, raise your hand. Simon Says, unmute yourself.
Oh, gosh.
Oh gosh.
Simon Says, mute yourself.
Simon Says what?
Simon Says, type your name in the chat.
Where's the chat?
There we go. Simon Says, lower your hand. And if you never raised it, we're going to know who didn't raise their hand the first time. So, Simon Says, here's a quick game you can do on the first day of class if you've got some virtual component to it or you got kids. The first time you're using this environment, or maybe this is something you do if you're doing an online class for the first time with some students because it's the Thanksgiving break switch, right? Well done. Although I always said Simon Says because I don't really know how you would identify and knock people out of the game of Simon Says, right, if they didn't listen. So I just want to take a second now in relation to team building and talk to you a little bit about communication and tools and tips that I have found successful with my students in my class. I want to start by telling you a story. I remember really early on in my academic career as a faculty member, and still to this day, my teaching philosophy is I'm very rule oriented, right? We have rules, I have classroom policies, and I want everyone to follow them, and I want it to set clear expectations. And it was many years ago, but my oldest daughter was in preschool, and her preschool had this rule where if you got to the classroom and the door was closed, they wouldn't open the door. And so I knew, and this is preschool, right? But so I knew like 8:40, we had to be in the car on our way to school so we would make it in time and the door wouldn't be closed on us. And I mean, for lack of a better word, my daughter had to use the bathroom before we left. And so she's sitting on the potty and it's 8:38. And I'm like, oh, we got this. And it's 8:39, 8:40, 8:41. I mean, she's like 4 years old. What am I going to say? You have to get off the potty, right? And so now it's 8:45, and I'm very rule focused, and I'm like, we're not going to make it. They're going to close the door on us. They're not going to let us in. Like, what do I do? My world view is completely turned upside down. And so we get there, and they let me in. They open the door, and so from that moment forward, for whatever reason, as I was dealing with my students and their issues, I thought, maybe they didn't make it to my class that day because they were stuck on the potty and they couldn't get off, right? Like maybe, just maybe, I'm not the most important person in the world for my class that starts from this time to this time. Maybe there are other things going on. And, so I phrase that sort of story for you, and I'll give you some other examples then related to being a faculty member and teaching classes. I'm also a firm believer in trusting our students. I was a department chair for 2 years. I'm no longer a department chair, but I can tell you from trusting students and communicating with them, I would get tons of emails. And I would always try my best to deal with my student department chair by talking to them and not doing anything over email. I get an email, I'd say, okay, we're going to meet this time, we're going to chat. And I can't tell you the number of times I would read emails that seemed like the world was ending and the world was falling. But once you have that conversation, right, it helps just bring everything into perspective. So obviously communication is key. Being responsive to emails, finding ways to manage a large volume of emails. Many of you should be familiar with the bookings calendar system where students can make appointments with you. I just find that so much more helpful to just talk to them versus email back and forth. And if you don't do this trick, I would encourage you to try this. Turn off notifications from email on your phone. Don't let your phone ding every time you get an email from a student or a colleague. Just turn it off, because it'll help keep you more focused and centered in what you're doing. You can always open your inbox and respond to emails. And my one sort of last email tip, I think, is I always tell my students up front, give me 24 hours to reply to an email. And if I don't write you back in 24 hours, you have the right to email me and say, hey, Dr. J, I didn't get a response from you. Did you get this? And it just helps them be more comfortable. It helps take the pressure off you. Of course, I got an email this morning. Hey, you didn't send me my PIN. I just wanted to make sure you got this email for advising. And it's like, oh, shoot. Okay, so that email's back at the top of my inbox. So, make sure you're listening. If you get an email from a student where the world is ending because something's going on in your class, they missed an assignment or something, remember, maybe they were sitting on the potty and they couldn't get to it right at that moment, because we're not always the most important person in the world. Okay, so other things you can do or easier ways to engage your class. How do I engage with my students? I have found discussion boards, people rave about them. They haven't really worked too well for me. I don't find them super engaging or helpful, but I still use them. So what else can you do to stay engaged with your students? I never thought I would say this ever because, and forgive me for judging colleagues that put their cell phones on their syllabus and give their students their cell phones. It's just something, it's a boundary for me, and knowing your boundaries is important. So if you give your cell phone to your students and that's how you connect with them, I don't see a problem with that. I just know it doesn't work for me. But I found the GroupMe app, which is basically an app anyone can put on their phone, and it's basically like a group text message. So my classes use GroupMe, and we chat with each other on our phones in an app where they don't have my cell phone number. And I'll do you one better, and I'm not sure if I'm going to commit to this or not, but you can get a free phone number from Google Voice. If you don't want to give out your cell phone number, because I know I don't, and I haven't tried it yet, and I'm debating it because GroupMe, I think I've got like 60% participation of my students in GroupMe. I wish it was higher. I think next semester I'm going to make it, I'm going to tie it to a grade, and then I'm going to give extra credit. If you're not on GroupMe, you're not getting extra credit because I want the whole class in there. And I use it from everything to setting calendar events. I do it all in GroupMe. They get reminders when an assignment is due in there. Like, it just makes life easier. And I wish had something like that that integrated everything, and maybe one day. But Google Voice is great if you wanted to give a number out. Like anything with your phone and notifications, you can turn notifications off for Google Voice. So if you're thinking, Jay, you're crazy, even if you can get me a random number, I don't want my phone dinging at 3 in the morning from a student because they're texting me. You just turn the notifications off and check it when you're able. Just like I think it's a great idea to turn off email notifications and check your email when you have the time to address those questions. Strangely enough, Teams works just like a messenger. Like, you could set up a Microsoft team, but again, think of it like it's another app you're asking the students to use. And so I try to be mindful. My students use Black, the only other app I ask them to install, because I don't want 10 different platforms on their phone. And that's one of the reasons we have Tom Burkholder in the room. I used Moodle with Tom for years, which is a separate learning platform from Blackboard. But I just sort of finally said, you know what, I'm tired of reading the student evals that say, I wish it was all in the same place. I wish all my courses were in the same place. So I'm going to call you out randomly by name now and show you this little Icebreaker random question generator thing that I discovered. I have a list of 100 Icebreaker questions, and I have a website that's going to randomly select a question. You have the ability to just pass and say, hey, Jay, no thanks, pass, next. So I'm just going to pick out a handful of people at random, which probably isn't good pedagogy. You're going to get a random question show up on the screen, and give it your best shot and answer it. They're just random icebreakers. So give me 30 seconds to just swap to the right web page in Teams. When you have too many pages open, it makes life more difficult. There we go. So get ready to unmute yourself. And I'm just going to share my entire screen because Teams is not playing nice. All right, so I have 100 Icebreaker questions in here. And I need to see a list of people in the chat. Tom, who's your oldest friend and where did you meet them?
Good
And you can
question.
just say pass.
My friend Jose, who's a professor at University of Vermont, and I met him my second year of college.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Cheryl, If you were hired to show tourists what life is really like where you live, what would you show them?
I would show them the 4 different seasons of New England.
Beautiful. Alice, what's the most ridiculous thing you've ever bought? And remember, you can pass. Or maybe they're not here.
It was a flamenco dance costume.
Oh my goodness, this needs to follow up with a picture.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even, I mean, it was a real costume, like, professionals used it for dancing in. I'm saying, it wasn't like Halloween. It was like the real thing. But yeah.
Love it. Gloria, what word is a lot of fun to say? There's got to be a great chemical name that you're fond of. Gloria's unmuted, but we can't hear you. All right, Gloria, we'll come back, or type it in the chat. Your favorite word to say. Natsuko, what movie or book do you know the most quotes from?
Oh no, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know, it's a lot of pressure. Kathy, what always cheers you up when you think about it?
Oh, that's a good one. What always cheers me up? Think about it. Probably one of my favorite places to go, Candlewood Lake.
Nice. By the way, I'm just realizing you now can see my entire screen, and I don't even know what icons and fun games are showing up. Let me just gracefully slide.
Nothing good. Nothing
Oh,
good.
good.
We see us. We see we see us.
Even better. Even better. I could also tell you just a quick story. I made the mistake one time of logging into a website in front of my students. It was my first semester, I think, teaching here, and my username's Jason Dragon. And so for the rest of the year, they knew my sort of default nickname. So I'm going to stop there. But if you can, let me move this over. Do you see the website now that I'm at? And I'm going to give you all these links. I pasted 100 different icebreaker questions that I will share with you. And just, it's a random choice generator. So it just picks each line by random. So just another fun thing that you can play around with and do. So back to the slides. Just some more perspective. I saw this on Twitter the other day, or I think it was actually in a Facebook group for higher education, and I just want to read it to you. I'm really enjoying being aggressively accommodating for my students. Need an extension? Absolutely. Sick family members? Forget this class. Go take care of them. Feeling overwhelmed? Let's plan a break. Seriously, if you can make anyone's life easier right now, you got it. And I just sort of just like the perspective. I think, besides the fact of the situation or the environment that we're in, I would just tie this back to, if the title of this talk is Team Building, Breakouts and Beyond, I mean, take a minute to make sure you stop and listen to your students. And if the first thing out of your student's mouth is something like, I need an extension, or I didn't know this was due, and you're thinking to yourself, how could you not know? I make all these date lists in my syllabus, I email, I post it here. Take a minute and just listen to them. And I guess it's also worth saying that I'm certainly not advocating that in my classes I let everybody not meet deadlines, and I'm not trying to teach my students how to avoid responsibility. But more often than not, I've had a small handful out of 75 students I have this semester across 3 different classes. I'd say, 5 to 10 have reached out to me and not been able to meet deadlines, whether it's because of a family member or because of some other situation that was not within their control. Just things to think about. And I also love, I've shown this in other presentations, when you think of your classes, think of that what's essential. What are you teaching them that's absolutely essential? They need to know it, right? What's important stuff? And then what's nice to know, that's sort of outside. Think about, you know, how that relates to your course objectives and your syllabus and what content and knowledge you're trying to deliver to them. So now I don't know how this is going to work. This is called the stand-up game. It's not my idea. I'm going to stop sharing so we can sort of all see each other. So the stand-up game is if I ask a question and you agree or identify with the statement, you stand up. And since you don't have to turn your camera on, that's okay. Instead of standing up, raise your hand. So we call it the raise your hand game. So here's the first one. Stand up or raise your hand if you've ever eaten an entire pizza by yourself. I see some hands, right? How about stand up or raise your hand if you've gotten a negative comment from a student opinion survey? The people that didn't raise their hands are probably not with us right now. How about this? Raise your hand if you've gotten a positive comment on your student opinion survey. Yay. How about this? Raise your hand if you've ever tried to cut your own hair. Thanks, COVID. I have video proof. Actually, I let my kids cut my hair. That was fun.
I saw the video.
How about this? Raise your hand if you've ever sung karaoke. Look at this. And then just one more. Raise your hand if you've ever sung karaoke in front of your boss or supervisor or dean or department chair. or faculty senate president or president of the university. And I just have to share this one real quick. So I have sung my many years ago, and I know there's a video, and they always swore it to secrecy until I made it all the way to full professor. So I have, and now I'm just wondering when that video is going to leak out. So,
ooh, am I going to have to follow up on that?
Oh, great. Jan's in here. Jan's in my department. That's not gonna be fun. So, you know, there's an example of a stand-up game. The other idea behind it, too, is to just get people moving. I know we did hands. So I'm going to play another video for you, although I think I got to check myself again because I didn't share sound. So let's do this one more time. Technology is not easy. All right. So take a look at this video, and we're going to do a poll. There's 5 types of online professors, according to this college student who made the video. Let's see. Think about which professor you are. My daughter made me watch this video like 30 times.
All right, who's ready to learn? What's up, everybody? Oh my gosh, Nicole, is that your dog? Oh, he's so cute. Okay, I think we're gonna end pretty early. I'm just really tired, so I'll see you all next class, okay? I want everybody's camera on. If your camera is not on, you will be losing points. Jeremy, I can see you on your phone. Let's please turn off all of our devices, please. Fiona, I noticed you're looking a little bit left of your camera. What are you watching? Can you hear me now? How about now? Can you hear me now? Hello? Yeah, Jessica, that was a great point. Dad. Okay, please. All right, Dad. You're okay. I'm on my class. Do you want to come talk to the kids? Stop. What? Pick that up right now. Do something, Dad. Pick that up.
So let's see, which professor are you? So you can go back to that link. You can go to the website, enter my favorite phone number, 8675309. You could scan the URL QR code with your phone. That'll open the website. Go ahead and take the poll, and let's see, what do you relate with the most? My daughter told me I was the email professor, and my daughter also said that she would be the chill professor if she got to pick. Love it.
I am forever asking my students if they can hear me. Partly because they never actually respond when I ask questions.
Right. I think the chat feature, sometimes we have to remind ourselves, because even right now I have not looked at the chat. And I know some faculty have shared in other sessions how they might pick a student to monitor the chat for the faculty member and kind of be like your reminder, like, hey, you forgot to look at the chat, professor, right? So thanks for taking the poll. I see most of us are chill. 2/3 of us are very chill. 1/4 of us are serious, 8% old-fashioned, 8% email. No parent professors. So I wanted to share with you next another fun sort of tool, not necessarily from a team building or communication standpoint, but I have discovered TikTok, and it has literally changed my worldview. And I just want to share with you. So that last video I showed you was from TikTok. That was some student who posted that on TikTok about different types of professors. This gentleman, he's a physical educator. And if you have attended any sessions previously with some of our faculty, we do brain breaks sometimes, especially in our PE department. And so here's a brain break. So watch this gentleman and see if you can do this.
Are you ready for this week's brain break? You're going to have to concentrate for this one. One hand's rotating forward and one hand's rotating backwards. Switch them. I know you can do it.
So, you know, turn your camera on if you want to. You don't have to. One hand forward, one hand backward. I don't know why it's so hard. And then reverse it. And there's this guy's you know, he posts a brain break every week. So you don't need to be in person or virtual. You know, I like to do these when I can remember to with my class, just to break things up. One of my favorites, I didn't play the video because he wouldn't let me down. TikTok, they let you download only certain videos sometimes. So if you can see me right now, so you use one hand and you point to your opposite hand in this motion, like an L, and then you do the number 1. Then you close and you reverse it. So now you point to the other hand and do number 2. Then you switch, number 3, number 4, number 5, 1. It's really hard. 2, 3, yeah. So they're just ways to hopefully wake the class up, get people engaged, just sort of reset. And you can follow this person on TikTok. If you do anything today, you need to get TikTok. And even though there's silly, ridiculous videos on there, and I would admit, I avoided Instagram for the longest time. I'm not a huge Pinterest fan. I'm like, social media, like, okay, I got Facebook. But there are just so many great things on TikTok. For a biologist, there's an anatomy. This guy looks at the heart. He dissects lungs. He shows real like it's amazing. There's professional development stuff for just being more positive, being more mindful. There's a high school teacher who posts science, chemistry experiments with stuff around the house. I mean, there's just, you can find content and use it in your class. Okay, I can't recommend enough that you explore it. Are there sillier things on there? Yes, absolutely. But there's a lot of valuable stuff that you can use in there. So I made an escape room, and my plan was for us to go into breakouts, but because we weren't super successful, since if this was my class right now, I would do another class and work on breakouts with you all and make sure we all could do it and get it done right. So rather than do that, this is another idea you can do with your class. And if you wanted them to work together in smaller groups, that's what we would use the breakouts for. So I'm just going to be the team leader. We have about 10 minutes left. And I'm going to sort of narrate us through this escape room and see how we do. So let me just switch what I'm sharing. And I'll give you an idea. So this is an escape room. So we have to escape. I made it via Google Forms. It's pretty simple, and I can show you how to do it. But let me just open this up. I love how my department chair is calling me right now while I'm in a Teams meeting. Okay. Google Chrome is not being nice. Okay. Hopefully y'all can see my screen. I'm assuming, yes. Hands up if you can see it.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so we're trapped in Torp Theater. Good day. We've been transported to Torp Theater in Davidson Hall. I hope you filled out your daily COVID survey. The doors are locked, but there's a bright light emanating from the Crestron Control Center on the stage. So as we approach the podium and the Crestron box, there's an apparition that appears that urges us to press the red button. What should we do? Push the button or not push the button? Type your answer in chat. And I'll see if I can do my best to sort of take the consensus. Do we push the button, yay or nay? Yes, push it. No, don't push it. Don't touch it. Push it. Chris told us never to push the red button. I'm seeing a majority no, so we're going to do nothing. We're going to ignore it and not push the button. You didn't push the button? Who told you not to push the button? Was it Chris? May the ghosts of the first students at CCSU haunt you all forever for not recording today's lecture. Think of the children. If you wish to survive this journey, what year did those first students from CCSU likely graduate? Feel free to unmute yourself. What year do you think the first students graduated from CCSU?
1851.
1851. Why do you say that, Tom?
Because I don't think it was a 4-year program at that point.
And when did the normal school was founded? What year? Does anyone know?
1849.
There we go.
Jason, I think you may want to diversify, put down Bassett up there, because you know you got diverse students in the class and we're trying to be more conscious of those issues.
Sure. I thought yeah, I hear you. Good point, Evelyn.
Thank you.
It was really hard to find I was hoping to find some history, and the closest I got to finding any history of CCSU's founding was the library had an exhibit, but I couldn't attend the exhibit because it was in person, it wasn't digitized, so that was the only photo I had. So we're now sitting through Torp Theater, and as we look at the floor, there's a map. So we have this map on the floor with a grid overlay, and there's some instructions above the map. It says, walk in the following manner to reach the next steps. Watch yourself and step carefully, but not too carefully, and listen to the map. So it says start at Kaiser. I don't know how well you all can see the screen. Kaiser's right here. And then it says go 2 blocks left, 1 block right, 2 blocks down, 1 block left, and 2 blocks up, and then 1 block left, and see where we end up. But it says listen to the map. So I'm going to give you all a few minutes to navigate the map and see where you end up. And when I scroll down, there's some answer choices with different locations on the map. So take a few minutes and tell me where you end up. And I'm going to post.
Can you point to Kaiser again?
Kaiser is at F3 right here.
F0.
F0. Oh, you're off the map, huh?
I think
So
so.
Here were the answer choices. I'm sorry, we're running out of time, so please forgive me, and I'm going to share all of you. But we're either off the map, a terrible parking spot if it's a faculty lot, and some other options, a great parking spot. So if we say we're off the map and we listen to Tom, we have failed. Go back and try again. Listen to the map. So I'm going to share this with you all. I'm not going to tell you the answer, because I want you to mess around with it so you can play around with it on your own. And I just wanted to share with you the last puzzle before we sort of regroup. So if you manage to solve the map puzzle, the last thing is, as we choose the answer, which was in there, whoops, some pranksters decided to throw books of our colleagues into a jumbled mess on the floor in the library. In order to ease the woes of our dear faculty member, Professor Gil Gigliotti, who's going to kill me for probably saying his last name incorrectly, the host of Central Authors, they must be placed back on the shelf in the correct order. Fortunately, the pranksters left a clue. So there's 8 books, and they have to be put back in order. Each book has a number. So for instance, Particle Panic by Chris Larson in Geological Sciences is standing to the left of Making MTSS Work by Peg Donahue in Counselor Education. But Making MTSS Work, number 2, is at the end of the shelf. So the idea here is to put the books back in order using the clues, and if you enter the correct sequence of books in the right order, you will survive the escape room. So you know, you can do this with anything. Whatever your subject matter is, you could create something in Google Forms, and all I really did was create questions in Google Forms where you have to give the right answer. And if you don't give the right answer, it's like a choose your own adventure book. So, you know, Tom said we were off the map. So if you pick that answer, it just takes you back to the puzzle all over again. But you can use this with anything. You can put your students in groups or in teams so they can work together. Yeah, I would just remind you all that teamwork makes the dream work. That's a popular phrase in our house. And I want to share a link with you now in the chat as we wrap up. If you click on this link, bit.ly.
Wait, I think Evelyn is in the waiting room.
Yeah, I let her in.
Oh, okay.
It's just slow for some reason. If you click on that link, everything we've talked about today is a link you can visit. All the icebreaker questions, the poll software, the escape room. If you want to try and solve one of those puzzles, you're welcome to click through it and do it. And I just thank you all kindly for attending. I really appreciate it. You know, and happy to entertain any questions or comments, thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. This was fun.
This was great. Thanks. I can't write it in the chat, but it was great to experiment with teams. And I thought a lot of the engagement opportunities were great. I've made a full page of notes. Thanks.
And we recorded this, so I will upload the recording, and you can always have access to it. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Have a
Jay.
great good day.
Thank you.
Bye, Jay.